Welcome back, my enlightened ones. It is I, Kat, for wins here. Hi, happy Thursday, everybody. How's everybody doing? So happy that you can be here with me. And anybody else who stumbles along later, happy to have you find us and check us out. And you're just as valuable. So, how is everybody tonight? Yes, I've been reading the chat here. So Sarah, um, yes, Sarah, she was actually named after the Triceratops in that dinosaur movie. What's the name? Hi, Julie. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you, my friend. So, anyway, so yeah, Sarah. I was gonna spell her name Cera, which is the way they spelt the dinosaur name in the Land Before Time movie, but we decided to change it to Sara instead because people would be forever calling her Kira instead of Sarah, which is what I wanted. So, and Sarah means princess. So, of course, she's my princess. So, how is everybody tonight? Happy Thursday. I have some crazy stories to tell you about a penis and everything. So yeah, so this is going to be fun tonight. It's not going to be a long class. So anyway, next week's class we're going to be doing a protection satchel. I'm going to teach you certain herbs and certain things to put together and how to bless the satchel and hang it up in your house to give you that extra protection that we need this time of year, because as we know, the darkness rules this time of year because as we go into the winter months in the paganism. So anyway, so I think we're gonna jump right in. Is that what you said? So I think I'm going to jump over to my banner. So I'm so happy that you guys are here with me tonight. I found out a lot of information about Isis, one of which Isis is not her Egyptian name. That was a learning tool right there. So what's tonight's class about? Isis. Her name Isis means throne. Now I want to point out on the top of her crest, on her crown on the head, on her head, that is actually a throne, and I'm going to tell you whose throne that actually represents in a moment. But she stands for motherhood and fertility. Her actually Egyptian name is Stet. The great goddess Set, queen of the heavens, goddess of many names, who was, is, and ever shall be, daughter of the earth and sky. I honor you and sing you praises. Glorious goddess of magic and light, I open my heart to your mysteries. So her Greek name is Isis. It's the Greeks that call her Isis, the Egyptian name. You're also going to find out too tonight that she is, in fact, I've been told that in a reincarnation, Mother Mary kind of was her, but and also Jesus Christ was Osiris, so that's quite interesting to share there. Again, I'm just putting my information out there. What you choose to believe and what you choose to do with it, that's up to you. Great. Excuse me. Every time I start talking, I start coughing. um Excuse me. So anyway, she's kind of the equivalent to Mother Mary, the Madonna, and you're going to find out why tonight. So that's something that we're going to be looking for here. Most legendary goddess of Egyptian mythology, goddess of love, motherhood, fertility, magic, mystery, healing, death, rebirth. Her Greek name is Isis, while the ancient Egyptians called her Aset or Iset. So what I'd like to do right now before I dive into reading all my materials, you guys, I want to invoke her into my home. I want her to come on in and partake and be here with me. So I'm going to do this, if you don't mind. Invocation of Isis, great holy Isis, mother of all gods, I call to thee. Thy name is sweet upon my lips, lady of the green wings and of the crescent moon, mistress of the sea, queen of the earth, I call to thee. Thy beauty engulfs my soul, mistress of the elements and all of things forever. I of Ra, embracer of the land, come to me, Isis, join me in your holy temple and empower this right to have you here tonight. So you're going to learn where her parents came from, who her parents are, which is kind of interesting too there. So I'm going to just jump over to comments before we delve any further in, make sure everybody's here. I got Natalie and lovely Sarah and Julie came. I'm so happy to have you all. Okay, so here we go. The Egyptian goddess Isis was a strong and influential deity whose worship stretched over 5,000 years. That's a long time. She was revered for so many things, especially for her ability to bring out the best in people. As the goddess of life and magic, Isis used her magic power to resurrect Osiris. Yes, she brought her husband back to life. And not the penis, though. From the dead, thereby helping him become a god of the afterlife. Remember, Anubis is god of the afterlife, and he stepped back and gave that to Osiris after Osiris died to control and to judge in the afterworld. So that's how that goes. So she was the mother of Horus, the falcon-headed god. I have him here. Where's that steadily dude? I have lots and lots of meters, and I have them all in order too. Wow, I got the whole family here, so I'm just going to pull up the family here. Here we go. Let's bring up the family. All right, so a 10, which would be God. Oh, okay. So from a 10, Osiris and Isis and Hathor and the moon and all these beings were created, but their parents anyway, so you can see Horus over here. That's the whole reason why I wanted to bring that up. So we're going to delve further into this. Here we go. Ancient Egypt believed that Isis optimized every positive feminine quality there is. Her role as queen consort to Osiris. Later, Horus made her the greatest goddess in the Egyptian pantheon. So Osiris is not only her brother, but is also her husband. Because remember, it's just like the Greeks too. There's got to be a beginning, and there's only a limited amount of people that you can play around with. So, so it's got to start somewhere, Dagners. So, no judgment, please. All right. So, according to myth, Isis was born, I'll pull this back up, to the sky goddess Nut. Okay. She's the one that's arched over the top there. She represents the sky. In the earth god Geb, so Geb would be our form of Mother Gaia here. So Geb is basically Mother God, Father God of the earth. So her great grandfather was the creator Ra. Okay. So from Ra, again, we did the class on Bastet. Bastet is Ra's daughter. Atum, Adam Ra, I have him buried here somewhere. Just keep looking there. There we go. Here we go. Here's a tomb. So a tomb, a man with the double crown. A tomb was a creator god. A tomb was the first god to exist on earth. That's who they're talking about here. And here is a tomb and Ra together. And I'm going to leave that up here. She had 4 siblings: Osiris, Set, Nephthys, and they say Horus, but Horus is her son, so that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to pull this back up. Okay. So we have Osiris, Isis, Hathor, Amun, Horus, Ra, Hierarchy, Capri, Nephthys. So these aren't in order, of course. Now notice Shu and Tefna and Shu. Shu's over here and Tefna's over here. These are the grandparents. You're going to find out about them too. Isis married her older brother Osiris. There they are. Egypt's first divine king. As queen consort, it is believed that Isis was one who introduced the institution of marriage to the Egyptians. So marriage did not wasn't heard of until she came along. This is her son here that she's with here. This is wow. Excuse me. I got a tickle in my throat tonight. So anyway, okay, moving on. So back to these two. Isis and Osiris gave birth to the son called Horus. There's Horus here. The falcon-headed. During the reign of Osiris, it was believed that the land of Egypt was very prosperous and a peaceful place. Osiris and Isis introduced law and order. The Mot's law, and you've heard me talk about Mots before. Here she is. This is her law, okay? She's the one see the feather on her head? That is the feather of truth. That is what Anubis takes and weighs that feather on his scale against your heart. And your heart better be lighter than that feather, which means that the darkness and such as our sins or whatever makes our heart very heavy. So this is known as the feather of truth here. So her 42 ideals of Matt is to honor virtue, benefit and gratitude. I am peaceful. I am respectful of property and others. I affirm that all life is sacred. I give offerings that are genuine. I give the truth. There it is. I regard all altars with respect. I speak with sincerity. I consume only my fair share. I offer words of good intent. I relate to peace. I honor animals with reverence. I can be trusted. I care for the earth. I keep my own counsel. I speak positively to others. I remain in balance with my emotions. I am trusted. I am trustful in my relationships. I hold purity in high esteem. I spread joy. I do the best I can. I communicate with compassion. I listen to opposing opinions. I create harmony. I invoke laughter. I am open to love in various forms. I am forgiving. I am kind. I am act respectfully of others. I am accepting. I follow my inner guidance. I converse with awareness. I do good. I give blessings. I keep the waters pure. I speak with good intent. I praise the goddess in God. I am humble, I achieve with integrity, and I advance through my own abilities, and I embrace that all. That's not much. Nope. Um, so anyways, but those are good things to follow if you can do it. In this day and age, it's kind of hard. But anyway, so Mott, if you remember, she was married to Thoth, who was the scribe of heaven. Okay, writes down all our thoughts, everything that we do in our lifetimes, and he writes it in, and it goes into the Akasha records that you can actually tap into. I do have an Akasha record meditation if you want to go ahead and do that. It is in under my lives, I believe. Anyway, but it's cool because you can go back and see who you were in your past lives or relive a life and do some healing in it, and so you can advance further in this life. So that's quite interesting. All right. So, however, lurking in the shadows was the god Set. Now, Set isn't such a good dude. Okay. This is Set. We're going to show you that one in a second, but we're going to look at this Set. Okay. See how he looks a lot like Anubis? He's got that long snout of the jackal going on there. All right. Osiris's younger brother, Set, the Egyptian deity of chaos and destruction. Remember, we talked about him. His name is spelled Seth or Set, but it's pronounced Set. Now, he is the god of chaos. Just like in the Greeks, it all came from chaos. It all that's what it's called, is chaos. And destruction. Had grown very jealous of Osiris's reign because Osiris, being the older brother, made him the king because Set wasn't the older brother here. So he was very jealous. Hence, he plotted against Osiris. And here we go. I'm gonna pull this one up. You can look at this one. I'll read my story. Set organized a lavish. Set went ahead and organized a lavish party for the Egyptian gods and goddesses. During the party, he tricked Osiris into entering a magical casket. He Set then sealed the casket and threw it into the Nile River with Osiris inside. To get Osiris out of the way, Set went out on to become ruler of Egypt. Now, this is where it's really going to get crazy, guys. So hang on here. All right. So, after months of searching, Isis eventually found her husband's body in Byblos, and I believe I have a picture because this is going to go to the next part here. Yeah. So you're going to go into this picture here. She tried to hide it from Set. However, Set got wind of it and proceeded to cut Osiris's body. Oh, I got to look at you for this part. This is interesting. He cut up Osiris's body into 14 different pieces. Okay. This is where it gets good. Once he was through with dismembering the body, yes, dismembering, Okay. He scattered the pieces across the earth so they could not be found. Isis again went on the search to retrieve dismembered body parts of her husband. According to the myth, Isis found 13 out of 14, and the one piece that she was missing was the penis, his little appendage, his peni. Yes. So they believe the fishes ate it. I think the fishes might have thought it was a worm. I'm not sure. So the 14th piece, Osiris's penis, was eaten by the fishes. Fish eye. Aided by deities such as Thoth. Remember, Thoth is the one that is married to, oh goodness, what's her name again? Oh, I have so much in my head, guys, and it gets all messed around. What is her name? Oh my goodness. Matt. Thank you, Mott. All right, gotta listen more. All right, aided by the deities such as Thoth, who was married to Ammon, Anubis, and Nefertiti. Nefertiti is a sister to Isis. Isis was able to put Osiris's body back together. Then she used her magic to resurrect Osiris. Except for the penis, she couldn't resurrect that penis. Shortly after Osiris and Isis copulated, yes, they copulated without a penis. So I'm going to read this again, okay? So shortly after Osiris and Isis copulated, that brought forth the son of Horus. Osiris was then passed on to the land of the dead and became lord of the afterlife. As I said, Anubis made him lord of the afterlife. Isis raised and protected her son Horus until the day that he avenged Osiris's death and took back the throne of Egypt from his uncle Set. The mother and child fled to the Nile marshlands, hiding from the god of chaos. Okay, so the story of the tree is actually in this one. So I'm going to jump over to comments before I start it. What do you think about that penis? Yeah. Do you think it was a worm? Hmm. She did manage to make a phallus. Yes, we're going to call it a phallus. For Osiris. I'm not sure what it is. I'm assuming it's not a vegetable. Okay, here we go. Back to my beers. I get silly. Forgive me. All right. Isis is the ancient Egyptian goddess who became the most popular and enduring of all the Egyptian deities. Here she is. Her name comes from the Egyptian word aset, which means seat. The seat, which referred to her stability and also the throne in Egypt, as she was considered the mother of every pharaoh through the king's association with Horus, her son. And where's Horus Becca? That's here he is. Okay, and that's Horus, her son. Her name was also interpreted as Queen of the Throne. Now we're going to go back to that other picture that we now you see the throne, that black thing on her head. Okay, this is where this is coming into play. Her original headdress was an empty throne. Okay, so the empty throne up here, or I think it's on this side, represents her murdered husband. That's why the throne is empty. So the empty throne up there represents Osiris. Her symbols are the scorpion who kept her safe when she was in hiding, because she didn't want Set to find Horus, because he would kill Horus knowing that he would be up for the throne as well, and that's a threat. So yeah. um Her symbols are the scorpion and who kept her safe when she was in hiding. We're going to talk about here. Let me pull up her scorpions real quick here. She had 7 of them. The 7 scorpions of Isis, they are called. They used to protect her. I don't think that they were this big, but in this picture they are. You're going to learn. Each one of them has a name and has a purpose. So anyway, she is regularly portrayed as the selflessness giving mother, wife, and protectress who places other interest in well being ahead of her own. She was also known as Weret Kaku, which means of great magic. For her power of the Mut Nature, as I say, my apologies, enunciation's not my thing, mother of the gods, but was known by many names depending. In fact, I think she's supposed to be the goddess known with over 10,000 names. So yeah. And I don't know them all. Let's see here. Depending on which role she was fulfilling at the moment, was she went by that certain name. So as the goddess who brought the yearly oh wow, mundation, which is a celebration of water. So they would actually celebrate, let's see here, the Nile. I'll pull this up for you so you can see the Nile there, which fertilized the land. She was Sati, for example, as the goddess who created and preserved life. And she was excuse me, Ankat, which is Queen Mother. In time, she became so popular that all the gods were considered mere aspects of Isis, and she was the only Egyptian deity worshipped by everyone in the country. She and her husband and one son placed on the Theban triad of Amun, Mut, and Kronos, who'd been the most popular trinity of gods in Egypt. And it's funny because it's going to go from this trinity, and the Christians are going to come in and they're going to change that trinity, which you know that where that's going to go. So Osiris, Isis, and Horus are reformed as the burial wow, triad, which means her cult began in the Nile Delta. And back to here, began in the Nile Delta, and her most important sanctuary was where the shrine of Bavit el Hagar, but worship of Isis eventually spread to all parts of Egypt. Both men and women served Isis as clergy, and no doubt rituals concerned her worship were conducted along the lines of other deities. A temple was built to her. Um, Earthly home, which housed her statue, and this image was reverently cared for by the priests and priestesses. The people of the Egypt were encouraged to visit the temple to leave offerings and make supplications, but no one except the high priest or priestesses were allowed in the sanctuary where the statue of the goddess resided. Isis became the goddess of all people of Egypt, male, female, royal, common, and poor. Beyond this, let's see here. I'll pull up another picture of Isis for you. Oh, this is some of her symbolisms here. This is interesting. So you get the empty throne. That's Osiris here. The sistrum. Remember that sistrum? We discussed that. That's that rattle that they use. It clears out negative energy, just like we do our witches' bells and so forth. So it's a percussion instrument. Then we have the knot of Isis and the cow horns on the solar disc. The cow horns actually represents the crescent moon of Isis, and that's the reason why the horns are represented in that picture there. Let's go to this one. Ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. Geb and Nut had 4 children: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. There, Horus is not in there. Nephthys was typically paired with her sister Isis in funerary rites because of their role as protectors of the mummy and god Osiris. So Osiris's son's brother, Isis is the daughter, the sister, Set is the son and the brother. He's the one who killed Osiris. And Nephthys is a twin. That's why she looks just like Isis over there. They're actually twin sisters. They actually create a cosmic balance between the two. So the one with the throne on the head is Isis, and the other one is Nefertiti's. So anyway, but they keep the karmic balance, kind of like the yin and the yang going on there. So here's another picture of Isis. While I move on here. Behind this, however, little is known about the details and rituals surrounding her worship, like the Eleusinian mysteries. The cult of Isis grew into a mystery religion, promising the secrets of life and death to its initiates, who were then sworn to secrecy. Does this sound familiar? This sounds familiar to me. Sure does. Yeah. Conspiracy? No. Oh, okay. Moving on. It is known that the cult promised eternal life to those who were admitted to its secrets. The people who worshipped her throughout Egypt may or may not have been full initiates in the cult, and either way, left no record of how the goddess was honored. It was not until Isis was worshipped in Rome that people wrote about the cult to the great degree. Okay, so this is where your Catholicism is going to start stepping in here, guys. By then, the clear knowledge the rituals involved was only for initiates. For temple of the island of the Philae in the Upper Egypt would remain an active pilgrimage site for thousands of years until it closed in the 6th century CE by the Christian emperor Justinian. In her role as throne goddess, she was considered the mother of all kings, but her benevolence was not limited to royalty. You're going to hear a crazy story about her. She is depicted in some stories and inscriptions as a homeless woman. Yes, she's not very vain. An old woman, a wife searching for or mourning for a lost husband, a mother mourning or missing her child and asking for help. Fight or that she's been fighting with somebody in her family and just needed to take refuge. In all these stories identified her with the common people of Egypt in their darkest moments. Because of this, Isis became the goddess of all people in Egypt. And as I said, male, female, royal, and common alike. Along with her husband Osiris, he taught humans the arts of agriculture and medicine, and instituted the practice of marriage. So they were the first couple to get married, was Osiris and Isis. So eventually she became associated with sea and was protectress of sailors and merchants who wore talismans honoring her and invoking her. One of the talismans that they would actually wear is the knot of Isis. You can get that in jewelry form. Unlike the other gods, Isis transcended natural borders and was worshipped by the Greeks and Romans, who believed in her as a supreme deity who created the world. Her cult in Rome was the greatest rival to the young religion of Christianity, which drew upon the image of Isis and the child god Horus. So I'm going to pull up this picture here. It might take me. So here we go. So you have Isis with Horus on one side, you got Mother Mary and baby Jesus on the other side. Isis and the child god Horus for a depiction of the Madonna with the child Christ. Her cult would remain one of the most popular in ancient Meridian until Christianity triumphed over the pagan faiths in the 4th and 6th century CE, and worship of Isis was was outlawed along with that of the pagan gods. Um, so in mythology, Isis was born after the creation of the world. According to the most popular version of myth, there was once only a swirling, chaotic waters of darkness in the universe. This is chaos, of course. Until one day a mound rose from the sea, and I gotta find. I'm gonna pull him up. The god Atum standing upon it. Atum gazed on eternal nothingness and recognized that he was lonely, so he mated with his own shadow. Yes. Heard of shadow boxing? Well, this is a step after that. To give birth to Shu. So if we go back up to our family tree over here, so you can see Shu is on over here. Okay, Shu is the god of air, and then you have Tefnut, which is on this side over here. Cuts in my hand, so it's over here. So Tefnut is the goddess of moisture. These two deities left their father alone on the primordial mound known as the Benben and went off to create the world. So if we go back down to Atem, here we go. I think I get another picture of him here with Ra. There we go. Atem, also alone on the hill in the midst of chaos, longed for his children and worried over their safety. This is crazy. And so he removed his eye. Yes, here we go. He removed his eye and set it out in search of them. This eye, you've heard, you've heard. Okay, this eye would later become one of the most iconic of all Egyptian images, the all-seeing eye. There it is. That's the widget of Horus, so in of Ra. So you can see the difference between the two. Okay, Ra would be the right eye, and Horus would be the left eye, even though you're looking at it in mirrored image here. So anyway, these new fragile beings now, excuse me, these new fragile beings had no, wow, nowhere to live. However, so Shu and Tefnut, this is where the story gets crazier. So Shu and Tefnut, so you got the air and okay, mated and gave birth to Geb, which is down below. Geb, that is Father Earth, and Nut, the sky, Mother Sky. These two quickly fell in love because there was nobody else. So they quickly fell in love and became inseparable. A situation Atum found intolerable, as they were brother and sister. This is not right. So he pushed Nut high above and pushed Geb down low, where they could only gaze upon one another but can never touch. But it was too late. Um, soon gave birth to 4 children: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, and Horus, which is the grandson to her. These 5 gods were given a task of managing the realm of human affairs on earth, and to form them came all other gods to Egypt. So, back to Set. Set sitting. See, Set is sitting there. See what I did there? So Osiris married Isis, and as the firstborn assumed the rule. Wow, I can't talk. Osiris married Isis, and as the firstborn assumed rule as Lord of Earth. With Isis as his queen consort, the royal couple took their responsibility so seriously that soon the humans had a paradise to live in, with cool, rushing streams, plenty to eat, and the perfect climate. There was no injustice in the land. All women and men were equal, and everyone was at peace with one another. Um, Set was very jealous of his brother Osiris, as I said, in his power and his prestige. However, so conceived a plan to get rid of him. He had a beautiful coffin made, and then threw this very lavish party and invited everybody. And he said, whoever can fit perfectly in this coffin, they can have it. I will give it to you. So everybody tried it out at the party, and nobody could fit perfectly in it until Osiris stepped in it. And as soon as Osiris stepped into the coffin, because his brother Set had the coffin made to exact height and measurements to him, he slammed the lid on the box shut. Um, and anyway, and then he floated it down the river. He fastened it shut and threw it into the Nile, where it was carried away toward the sea. So this is where it gets really crazy here. So this is where my tree is coming in. I gotta find my tree. Okay, got my tree. Isis was distraught when she found her husband was missing and went searching for him all through Egypt without success. Osiris, meanwhile, had traveled out to sea, and eventually his coffin became lodged in a great tamarisk tree. This is a tamarisk tree. This is actually one tree, even though it looks like it's coming out of the ground several times. It's one tree. Growing near Babylos. The tree grew quickly around the coffin until it completely contained it. The king of Babylos, Melchior, came to shore with his wife, Astarte, and admired the tree and the sweet scent which seemed to emanate from it. There's a rotting corpse in the tree. I don't think it had a sweet scent, but that's just my thinking. He ordered the tree cut down and brought it to his palace. Yes. And as an ornamental pillar, and you're going to learn what this ornamental pillar is. So they resurrected it and they put it up. The resurrection of Osiris. Isis had meanwhile left Egypt in search of her husband and eventually came to Babylos, where she sat down on the shore, where she cried for her missing husband. The maidens who attended Astarte came to the shore to bathe, and Isis taught them how to care for their hair. Now, this is called plaits. She teaches them how to plait their hair. Plaiting is a form of braiding of the hair. Um, Almost like cornrowing, I believe it is. When they returned to the palace, Astarte admired their new hairstyles and the beautiful scent which seemed to float around them. She asked how they had thought of plaiting their hair, and that the maidens told her of the mysterious woman by the shore at the sea. So Astarte sent for Isis, who was disguised as an older woman. Now, listen to this, and asked her to tend to her children at court. Isis became particularly fond of the younger child, Dictys, and thought to make him an immortal by burning away his mortal weaknesses with the what? Holy fire. Sound familiar, guys? Holy fire. There's your Reiki coming into play. Tell him where it was, and then he found it. Let me see here. Did I skip a page? I read this earlier, so it should be. So anyway, yeah, so she was lighting him on fire when somebody walked into the room. Let's see here. Tell him where it was. Tell him he was all hacked to pieces. Osiris, she's trying to get the information and scattered it across the land in the Nile. When Isis returned, she was horrified, but quickly composed herself and went to work finding the pieces of her murdered husband. As I said, she found 13 of the 14 pieces, and the one piece that was missing was the penis. Isis still was able to retrieve Osiris, and once he was alive, she assumed the form of a kite and flew around him, drew the seed from his body. Okay, this is how she got impregnated. Okay, so she flew around him like a kite, and she took in his seed, even though he has no penis, I don't know, from his body into her own, and became pregnant with her son Horus, thereby becoming as if she was the Virgin Mary. Even though Osiris was lived, he was incomplete and could no longer rule the land and the living, so he withdrew to the afterlife, where he became lord in judgment of the dead. Isis, fearing that Set might do the same thing to her son Horus, um, she hid him in the swamps until he was grown. At that point, Horus emerged as a mighty warrior and battled Set for the control of the world. In some versions of the story, Set is killed, but in most, he is defeated and driven from the land. The chaos Set had unleashed on the world was conquered by Horus, who restored order and then ruled with his mother in Nefertiti. So, I just want to blow through some of these banners here. So the Isis meaning here, this Egyptian deity Isis, under many names, appears as the principle of natural fecundity, whoops, I swear, fertility, fruitfulness among nearly all the religions of the ancient world. She was known as the goddess with 10,000 appellations, so 10,000 names, and was metamorphosed by Christianity into the Virgin Mother Mary. For Isis, although she gave birth to all living things, chief among them, the sun still remained a virgin according to the legendary accounts. So this is called the Jihad. This is what they made with that tree. And it's very powerful, and it's really cool. Hang on one second. I had it written down here. My mind is a blank tonight. So anyway, so Alexander the Great, and the Christianity now, it got into it, and they started those power struggles and everything, and there went the lovely bliss that was going on here. So Isis, Egyptian mythology, signs and symbols, the throne knots of Isis, sun disk, the sistrum rattle, cow horns in wings. As I said, some of her names are Lady Estet, Lady of Abundance, Lady of Bread, Giver of Life, Queen of Heaven, green goddess. Offerings are candy, corn, milk, perfumes, raisins, rose petals, and tea. And let's see here. This is about rescuing, I think. Yeah. Isis searched the land and the body parts. In some Egyptian texts, the penis is buried in Memphis. Wanted to point that out there. Point that out. Isis replaced the penis with a reasonable facsimile, but they don't tell you what it is. Is it fruit? Is it vegetable? Mineral? I don't know. And she was often portrayed in the form of a kite being impregnated by the corpse of Osiris. In some Egyptian texts, the scattering of the body parts is likened to the scattering of the grain in the fields, a reference to Osiris's role in the vegetation god. So, yeah, I just like to say this here. Isis incense, if you'd like to make some, is 3 parts myrrh, 2 parts sandalwood, 1 part frankincense, 1 part rose petals, a few drops of lotus bouquet burned while reverencing Isis, lotus bouquet, rose, jasmine, white or light musk is yin yang. Mix until the scent is heavy, floral, and warm. I just like to say a prayer to Isis. Isis, goddess of many names, mighty mother, daughter of the Nile, we rejoice as you join us with the rays of the sun. Sacred sister, mother of magic, we honor you, lover of Osiris, she who is mother of the universe itself. Isis, who was and is and shall ever be daughter of the earth and sky, I honor you and sing you praises. Glorious goddess of magic and light, I open my heart to your mysteries. So I think that is about it. That's the wrap up for the class here. Let me jump back over to comments. See, the penis gets people into trouble. It just gets the people into trouble. Um, So I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. Next week's class is going to be about protection sachets. I will be going over certain herbs and certain things that you may want to put into your sachet to kind of amplify it and make it really powerful. It's basically different forms of doing, your bottles, your witch bags, and your bells and everything else. They're just more lovely things I like to craft. So, and I like it when you guys come and craft with me. Also, too, December 21st is going to be our class. So it's the first class of Yule starting then. So I thought we would make a Yule wreath, a protection wreath for our house. So why not? I'm all about protection. Unlike the kite, they're flying around her husband and taking all his seed. So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. And until next week, I'd like to thank you. And I hope you have a lovely night. And one more thing. Shine, 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 people. Be that jack-o'-lantern. See you later, guys. Take care. Have a good night.